Welcome to Anchor TV. Now here's your host, Bobby Lawrence.
Hey, I'm so glad you're with us today. Man, we got a great show and a great guest. I'd like to introduce you to Terry Luck.
How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Terry, what was the hardest thing you've ever been through?
In the very first practice of my freshman year in the spring, I dropped back to throw a pass and my knee just goes out. I felt like I'd been shot. I literally thought I'd been shot. And I ended up going through 6 surgeries over the next 18 months. And probably the darkest time was during that time. You know, you go in to have surgery. At that time, they pump you full of drugs with pain and all of that. And it seemed like after I had the surgery and I was rehabbing, I had to go back in and have another one. Went through that whole process 6 times. And that was a dark time for me.
Well, let's go back to your knee.
Okay.
So you're hurt. You think your career's over, or?
Well, I didn't after I had my 3rd surgery. I didn't think it was over. I still thought, you know, I got to deal with this. I'd never been hurt, so I never had to deal with, you know, not being at I mean, I was at practice every day, but I couldn't compete. I couldn't participate. After my 3rd surgery, I went in to our trainer and our head coach, and I said, I want you to send me to the Mayo Clinic. It's obvious that we can't figure out what's wrong. It just seemed like something turned the corner, something else was wrong. I didn't know at the time that I had MRSA. MRSA wasn't, it was around, but no one had dubbed it MRSA, you know.
I got you.
And so I said, send me to the Mayo Clinic. So they said, well, let us talk about it. Well, you know, at that time, I mean, they were talking about me starting as a sophomore. So I'm thinking, I'm losing out here, you know, I'm losing valuable time. We had another guy there that was an excellent quarterback, guy named David Hum, left-handed kid out of Las Vegas, kind of shiny, you know, he was kind of shiny. But finally, they ended up sending me down to a doctor in Oklahoma City named Dr. Don O'Donohue, who happened to be the team physician for the Oklahoma Sooners, our bitter rival. So I go down there and basically he says to me, Terry, you've either been going through surgery or getting over surgery for the last 18 months. Best thing for you to do is rest and sit out another year. I said, I'm not doing that. He said, Terry, I mean, you could very easily lose your leg. At that time when they did surgery on knees, they put you in a cast from your ankle to your hip. And so, you know, it was just straight. So once you cut the cast off, your knee, because of the adhesions, it was just there, you know. You couldn't bend it, so you had to go back in, put you to sleep so you didn't feel the pain, and pop those adhesions. Well, that puts you back, that irritates. So it was just like one complete crazy circle.
Hey guys, there'll be more after these messages.
This program is sponsored in part by Yucky Ducky Toothpaste and other fine Yucky Ducky products. If you want the brightest smile and the cleanest breath, Yucky Ducky Toothpaste is it. Look for it wherever you can find it.
You know, there's people out there singing as loud as they can. I can't get no. And you know what that word is? I can't get no satisfaction. But the Bible says if you fear the Lord, you will abide in satisfaction. If you fear the Lord, if you honor him, if you have a reverent awe for him, you're obeying him, you're serving him, you're doing it his way, you can abide, you can dwell, you can live in satisfaction. You can actually have a life that you're satisfied with.
Welcome back. Terry, go back to where we was talking about. How was it emotionally for you at that time?
Oh, wow. I I had a tough time dealing with that because, like I said, I had never been hurt in my life. I, banged up and that kind of stuff, but I'd never really been hurt. And that was tough for me to take. Now, my teammates were wonderful, but you know what? At that level, it's business. I mean, it's business. And unless you can help out, and it's not like I got pushed aside, that wasn't it. But, they got to get the guys ready to play on Saturday. So I had a tough time dealing with that. I really did. Kind of found myself maybe feeling sorry for myself a little bit, a little bitter, I couldn't figure out why God would allow me to go through 4 years of high school, and we were awful. We were not very good. Everybody throwing lookout blocks, look out, here they come, that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, I go to the number 1 ranked team in the United States, and I don't even get hit, and yet I'm hurt. So it was a tough thing to swallow. It really was.
Oh, yeah. So, but you got better and was able to play?
I was my junior year. I backed up a guy named David Hunt. David was in the running for the Heisman, and he was a good player. He was a good. I didn't think he was better than me, but he was a good player. All people, quarterbacks are going to say that. Quarterbacks are going to say that. And we ended up going to the Sugar Bowl. Again, David was in the running for the Heisman. We go down to the Sugar Bowl. We were supposed to play the first Sugar Bowl, first game in the new Superdome, but it had fallen behind construction-wise. So we played the last Sugar Bowl in old Tulane Stadium, and it was old. I mean, it was rusted and looked like a shipyard. Of course, the night of the game, with the lights and the banners and all, you couldn't tell. So we were favored, I think, by 14. David attempts 12 passes in the first half and throws 4 interceptions. So needless to say, that didn't go over well. We were behind 10-0 at halftime. So Florida goes on this long drive. My roommate, Jimmy Burrow, Joe's daddy. Joe's daddy.
Big dollar.
One of our, yeah, about $55 million a year, big dollar. But Jimmy was our starting safety, and comes up and makes a tackle on the 1 foot line, them going in. And so we get the ball back. As soon as we get the ball back, Coach Osborne turns around and goes, "Terry, you're in." Well, I mean, I hadn't warmed up, hadn't done anything. So I said to him, "You're kidding." He said, "No, you're in." So I said, "Okay." So I go and we get in the huddle. They have a commercial break. So I'm talking to my linemen. I go, "Guys, they have pushed us around. Now we need to start playing Nebraska football. You line up and you hit them upside the head. I don't care if you tell them where we're going to run, I said, they should not be whipping us. So, I mean, I looked down at my feet. The end line was about 2 yards behind me. We go up to the ball, put my hand up underneath the center's fanny, and I'm standing 2.5, 3 yards in the end zone. So we go 99 2/3 yards and score. And we just punched them in the mouth. I mean, we just punched them in the mouth. So it's 10-7. We hold them, get the ball back, have another pretty long drive, kick a field goal. It's 10-10. And with about 6 minutes to go in the ball game, we get the ball back and have a pretty nice, probably 50-yard drive. And a guy by the name of Mike Coyle comes out and kicks the field goal, and we end up winning 13-10. So that was kind of like my big, other than my freshman year, and then I had to sit out those 2 years, that was kind of like my big coming out party. And then my senior year I started, and we ended up, I think, sixth in the nation. Ended up sixth in the nation. Got beat by Arizona State in the Fiesta Bowl. We gave it to them. I mean, they had a good football team, but we should have won the football game.
So now, all of a sudden, you're the starting quarterback the next year, your senior year. So you have arrived.
Well, I don't know if I've arrived, but we had another guy that was backing me up, a guy by the name of Vince Ferragamo. Vince had transferred in from Cal Berkeley, and he was playing behind Steve Bartkowski. Steve was the starter at Cal Berkeley. Vince was backing him up, and I think he knew that he wasn't going to beat out Steve, so he transfers to Nebraska. Has to sit out a year. I mean, at that time you had to sit out a year. Now you don't with the portal. But we had a good football team. I mean, we really had a good football team. Well, we were not as good as we were in '71 when we won the national championship, but we had a good football team. We really did. And then, like I said, we get beat 17-14. We're going in for the winning score. We run what we call 79, one delay, fullback swing. I still remember the play. Hit our All-American fullback, Tony Davis. He was tough. He's going in for the score. The guy hits him on the 4-yard line. He fumbles into the end zone. They recover, and we get beat 17-14.
And was that in the Sugar Bowl or?
No, that was in the Fiesta Bowl.
Fiesta Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, there'll be more after these messages.
Are you having trouble falling asleep? Then do what I did. Buy Yucky Ducky pillows. They're made from silk-covered concrete. When you slam your head down on this pillow, you'll be out like a light for the rest of the night. Buy them wherever you can find them.
You know, every Sunday morning I do a podcast, and at the end I give an invitation, and I ask people, do you know that you know that you know that if you die today, where are you going to spend eternity? You're going to spend eternity in one of two places. The Bible says it's either going to be heaven or hell. If you don't know that you know, you need to know.
Welcome back.
I would say probably 25 of the 45 guys that we brought in when I was a senior. Back then you could bring in 45 a year. Now it's only 25. But I'd say about 25 or 30 of our guys that came in together were on that 75 Fiesta Bowl team. We go to Fiesta Bowl, we get beat 17-14 by Arizona State, and they had a good football team. They were not as good as we were, I didn't think, but they had some very skilled guys. John Jefferson was one of their wide receivers. Just had some very skilled guys, and we get beat, and that was a big upset.
Oh yeah.
Then I didn't get drafted. I got called by about 6 or 7 teams. New England, well, at that time I think they were the Boston Patriots instead of the New England Patriots. Cleveland, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and they were telling me, Terry, we're going to draft you in the 2nd round, no later than the 3rd. So I had an agent, and first day, back then they would have, 28 rounds, 30 rounds. I mean, they drafted everybody. And they would have drafted my mother probably, but had 28, 30 rounds. Well, the first day they go through about 8 or 9 rounds. I don't get a call. So I call my agent and I go, hey, what's going on? Well, he starts making some calls. Come to find out, the head coach at the Patriots was a guy by the name of Chuck Fairbanks. Chuck was the head coach at Oklahoma when I was in college. And he was friends with 4 or 5 of our coaches. Well, he knew that I'd had some knee issues, even though I'd played 2 years and hadn't had any problem. But he was concerned about my knee. Well, in the NFL or the NBA or whatever, they have what they call their war board of where people should go. In other words, this guy should go in the first round no later than middle of the first round. And if for some reason you fall out of that, red flags run up and they start thinking, hey, wait a minute, they must know something we don't know. So that's what happened. I get a call from Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I mean, I get a call from them and they go, Terry, is something wrong with you? I go, no, I'm 100%. And so the guy who was the player personnel guy for the Patriots calls and tells me the story of the conversation they had in their offices, and they were concerned about my knee, whether I was healthy or not. So this guy leaves the Patriots and goes to Cleveland. As soon as he gets to Cleveland, he calls me. He said, we want to sign you. So I didn't get drafted. I had to sign as a free agent.
Oh, wow.
I had to sign as a free agent. Sure did. Forrest Gregg was our head coach. Remember Raymond Berry?
Yeah.
Remember Raymond?
Yeah.
Raymond was our offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Dick Mogileski, who played with the Giants, was our defensive line coach. It was almost like a Hall of Fame bunch of coaches, and then us. But it was, it's big business. I can tell you that. It's real big business.
Well, Terry, you become a free agent. You sign with the Cleveland Browns, and man, I guess it's happy days, right?
Well, I must admit, I was still disappointed about going from what several teams had told me that I was going to go in the second round and all, to not getting drafted. And the crazy thing about it was, I guess they thought they knew something that they really didn't know, So just by word of mouth, you fall out. And so I was glad to be there. Gave me an opportunity. Of course, it cost me some money, Not that we were making a lot of money back then, because we weren't. But it was a wonderful opportunity. Got to meet some great people, great fans. Had an opportunity to play with some Hall of Fame guys. But it was a learning experience, to say the least.
So when did your career end there?
At the end of 1978. So I was there in 77 and 78. I ended up hurting my shoulder.
Oh, wow.
Ended up hurting my throwing shoulder. And of course, again, back then, it was if you'd had a bad knee and you were a running back or whatever, they stayed away from you. If you were a quarterback and you'd had some kind of surgery, they stayed away from you. Now, what I had happened, they would have gone in, repaired it. 4 or 5 months later, I'd been 100%. So I ended up going and during the 2 years that I was in Cleveland, I worked for an ad agency in Cleveland. I didn't want to sit around and do nothing. But after I left Cleveland, I actually worked at North Texas State University with a guy by the name of Hayden Fry, who was the head coach down there. Hayden had been at SMU and had been successful. Ends up going to North Texas State, which North Texas State at the time was, I'm going to say like a Furman or an Appalachian State. They were like 1AA, even though they were Division I. We were a small school. We didn't get blue chippers. We got cow chippers, So, but we had some good kids. We just had some good, hard-working kids. And so I stayed there one football season, and then after the season at North Texas State, one of our assistant coaches at Nebraska, Warren Powers, got the head job at Washington State up in Pullman. So he called me and 7 others of my teammates Rich Glover, who was an Outland Trophy winner, and
Now this is during your NFL career, or after?
no, this was after.
Oh, after.
This is after. Jimmy Burrow, Joe's daddy, went up and coached defensive backs. So really, 8 of my teammates that we played together in Nebraska were now on staff at Washington State. So it was like old home week for us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we knew each other, had been around each other, had fun. Go up there and I mean, we had a pretty good football team. Had an opportunity to coach a young man named Jack Thompson. They called him the throwing Samoan. Big, strong kid. First round draft choice for the Bengals. And then it just got to a point, and I thought to myself, you know, am I being selfish? You know, I wasn't making a whole lot of money up there. So I thought, golly, maybe I ought to just go to work for this ad agency full time. So I ended up doing that and stayed with the ad agency 32 years.
Oh, wow. Well, let's go back just a moment. Now, you know, most boys, when we were kids, I know when I was a kid, a lot of us had dreams of playing in the NFL.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, just in a few years, yours ended. How did that make you feel?
Wow. It was hard for me to take. That may have been one of the top 5 darkest times in my life. Because basically, again, I was throwing as well as I ever had. I was healthy, 215, 220, so I was at a good weight. But then all of a sudden, you got people saying, we don't want you. I'd never been told we don't want you. And now all of a sudden, people are saying you're a liability more than an asset, so we don't want you. And that was tough.
How did you handle that rejection?
I had a wonderful family, loving family. Still kept in pretty close contact with some of my teammates who were playing, and some who didn't make it, and some who had never made it to the league, and they were out either coaching high school, working at a private location, or so it was just a matter of, I guess, friends kind of circling the wagons, but it was tough to swallow. It was tough to swallow.
Well, there's another side of the NFL. A lot of guys get so much money, they start partying and go down the ladder.
You don't have to worry about that with us.
Yeah, and then with you, then there's this other side of it. So your NFL career ended way premature. That had to be an emotional. What kept you from drinking and going to drugs or anything else?
The fear of my mother.
The fear of your mom.
You know what really was? It was, well, I'll say this. Even when I was in college, and again, you got to understand now, 1971 was my freshman year. So during that time, it was love the one you with, have a big time, Woodstock. I mean, that kind of atmosphere. There was a lot. I mean, there were a lot of drugs. Weed was pretty prominent. You know, cocaine had kind of just started coming in. And I'll tell you this, my biggest fear, never tried any of that. Never had a desire to try any of it. But my biggest fear was my mother picking up the paper on Sunday morning, reading that her son, local hometown high school hero, got arrested. I'm telling you. I mean, that in and of itself was it for me. Now, when I went to, they'd have big keg parties and all that. Might I drink a couple of beers? Yeah. But, boy, since I got saved 32 years ago, I've had no desire. I've had no desire for that. And I'll tell you what, it was not back then when I was with Cleveland. I mean, my rookie year, I made $32,000. My second year, I made $52,000. They make $32,000 now sitting on the toilet. I mean, you know, $32,000 now is not a whole lot for them. You know, not when some of those guys are making $8, $10, $12, $15, $55 million. So it has changed a lot. Of course, TV changed it, changed it dramatically. Obviously the world has changed and the demand is greater. And I don't watch a whole lot of NFL or NBA games anymore because of all the crazy stuff that they do. It's all about me and chest bumping and all of that. To me, that's not the sport.
Hey guys, there'll be more right after this.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? If so, the Yucky Ducky Products Company has the right thing, the solution that you've been waiting for. It's Yucky Duckies Up and Atom. Available in pill and liquid form, this heart-healthy energy booster will make you feel like the Energizer Bunny. Look for Up and Atom wherever you can find it.
I think the thing that I share with young people is that number one is you have to know your purpose for being here. But why are we here? Is it just to play football? Is it just to make money? Well, we were created for the glory of God. That's man's purpose. Well, why can't I glorify God? Because I was born with a problem. I tell him, what's the problem? I'm a sinner. We were born with a nature to go our own way. I call it the Frank Sinatra disease. I did it my way. Every person was born with a nature to go their own way. And what's the answer for that? God provided an answer. God sent his son. Jesus is the only person who lived the perfect life. And he pleased God in every way. And he died on the cross. Not because he was a sinner, but he died for sinners. And he rose from the grave. He conquered man's greatest enemy, death. And he provided man's greatest need, which was life, forgiveness in life. And so I tell people, if you want to know your purpose, receive God's Son, Jesus Christ, and let him lead you in the path of righteousness. I found that at 30 years old. And so the answer for our problem is a person, Jesus Christ. And in the Bible, I call it the playbook of life. It teaches you how to glorify God through Jesus Christ.
Welcome back, Terry. Now, if you had one message for all mankind before you check out, would you look at that camera over there and tell the people exactly what that is?
Guys, let me share this with you. In the world in which we live today, there's so many things that are so convoluted, you don't know what is real and what's not. I can tell you what is real, and what's real in my life is the presence of Jesus Christ in my heart. He loves you. He wants you to be his. I ask and pray that you would seek him out. Seek his face. Get in God's word and seek him out.
We hope you enjoyed the show today. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at anchorministries41@gmail.com. That's anchorministries41@gmail.com. Until next time, God bless you.